Hey there, John, Greg. Yes, it is quite late. I did the stupidest of stupid things and I fell asleep in the early part of the evening. So, as a consequence, I've got, well, 2 or 3 hours worth of, hey, we've got a screw missing there, one of the long screws. I'll just have to replace that one. And I didn't actually get to do any board repairs today, so I thought I'd better quickly catch up. And I was going to sit around and enjoy the warm tones of Mr. Rossman heading back to New York, but he started getting violent towards Siri and whoever else is running around guiding his GPS. And I couldn't personally stand for that, so I decided to do some board repairs and try and make some little computers a bit happier today. Alright, got some weird stuff going on there. Holy okay. We've got burn mark on the fuse there too. Okay, this will be fun. Hey there, Micro Mage and Alexei, Ed, B-Blood, McRams. Oh, the other people that I haven't yet said. Raul, Mr. Allen. Hey, Warren. Just get this battery out. It's always much easier to work on 1466s once you take the battery out. What job is this? 1450. Don't get too many of the 1466s anymore. It's sort of just the last couple of months, it seems like they've just stopped coming in. I think maybe people have, oh wow, there's damage on the battery as well. I think a lot of people have started to switch over to the latest M1 Max and things like that. And I can understand, oh right, okay, that's just got to go pretty much straight in the bin, that's corroded. Hey there, Anonymous. Okay, this is going to be a fun job. That DC board is also jacked up. Yep, this is the other reason why now I probably don't get too many 1466s, is because when they get damaged like this, it's borderline not economical to repair them. Evening, Arilla. Yeah, because if you've got to replace the DCM board and you've got to fix that and then you've got to do a battery, then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, well, it's just not worth it. We'll just move up to the latest Mac. And of course, yeah, these Samsung drives are starting to get a bit long in the tooth. I do like the 1466, but I have to admit it is, it's starting to move into the retirement age. Obviously the 2017 versions can last for a little bit longer. This is probably actually one of them. Hello there, Alvarado. I am the best, am I? The question is, at what at the best at being the worst? Oh, Mr. Iverson. Right, get the data drive out. Make sure we mark it so that we know what it is. Yep, still got one screw there. And he puts it in the wrong hole. That's all fixed. Okay, where is my T8? Dum, dum, dum. Okay, T8. The USB-C current meter has been an interesting project. Did some more work on it today, fixed up a couple of things, made it so it works fine no matter which way you put the cables in terms of input to output versus whatever. But then I was told that now we're soon looking at getting 48 volt 5 amp devices. I'm kind of thinking that I will just redesign the whole board and whole new current and voltage sensor chip, and get ready for that transition before I invest any more money into the one that I already have. So no sooner we get the bugs sorted out in the one we have, we find out that it's basically obsolete. Alright, oh yeah, I better take that out. What's this? Northridge let some smoke out today, did he? Andrew Hughes just came in from inspecting the replacement miter saw. The last one was damaged by a loose saw blade. Whoa, wow, nasty. Yeah. Hey Godfrey, obviously no one got hurt, I presume, on the loose saw blade. Was that the one that you just took delivery of? And they had a loose blade in it? Alright, so our 342 section's kind of messed up. Our SMC sus, is that the sus one or is that the sus one? Anyway, that's going to stop the SMC getting started. This is a bit of a concern because we've actually got a pretty severe burn mark going on in here. So it may actually be a completely dead board. Hilariously, this side of the board looks quite good. Really the new USB-C like high-level, high-power setup. The new Apple 140 watt power bricks apparently do it. Okay, maybe that's not a burn mark, that's just... it's hard to say. Keyboard connector's got some junk in it. Hey there, NY'er. Yeah, it's pretty bright and clear here as well. Is it actually a full moon tonight, or is it just a bright moon? Because I know we're heading to it, I just wasn't sure if tonight was it. Okay, 342 is not as bad as I anticipated. I will have to change that inductor. But certainly this section here needs a replacement. It's a supermoon, is it? No, okay. That explains why all the fur kids are going nuts. Let's flip it over, make sure we genuinely do not have... That's not corrosion on that resistor, that's just some sort of bug wing. And it simply has the colors similar to corrosion from a distance. This is actually only a 1.68 gigabyte. I don't normally see the 1.6s anymore. Almost all of them now are just 1.88 gigabyte. So it looks like primarily cleanup. We'll have to do a replacement of the flat flex, and we'll have to look at the DC inboard as well. G'day Ian. Yes, I allow JTAGs to live around here. I don't believe in just simply indiscriminately killing them. So I haven't even checked to see what the symptoms are on this, other than the fact that, well, they did say it's going slow, I believe. It runs slow, fast fan, okay, so SMC failure. And that actually makes sense, because this section here, with that all messed up, the SMC is not going to be running properly. Oh, look at that, Travis is here. So is Lewis at New York yet? Or has he crashed Sonny's car? Obviously I don't want him to do that, but... Let's get ourselves a donor. And find one that actually has those parts on it. There we go. Yeah, that's a little bit messed up, that one, so I'm not going to get that, but I will take these ones. So we'll just quickly jump away from the inductor and we'll work on this section instead. First thing I'll do is I'll actually wash that with some 80/20, just so that I can get rid of the bulk of that corrosion. I don't really want it mixing in with the flux too much. The other thing is, once you start hitting it with the hot air, it can sort of bake the corrosion in a bit. Makes it a little bit more difficult to remove it. So for the new USB-C meter, I'm going to switch up to the INA 239 chip. But it brings its own complications, because instead of being an I2C chip, it's actually a SPI chip, and subsequently I basically have to lose the LCD display if I want to retain the AT-Tiny45 chip. So I am then going to change from the AT-Tiny45 to an AT-Tiny44. And the 44 is a very different chip to the 45. It's more of an automotive chip. I think it's a 16 pin or a 14 pin. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But needless to say, it's got more pins on it, so I can then just simply bit bash whatever I need to. So I'll end up needing I2C, SPI, and USART all being bit bashed. I probably can actually use the built-in peripherals that are in that chip, but quite frankly I'm a really lazy bastard and I don't like having to change my software too much, so I'll probably just end up still using the bit bashed routines rather than using the various modules inside the chip. I don't know why I'm caring about that. That's just the on-off pads. And of course I may then sort of think to myself, well, since I've got more pins available, maybe I should change to a different LCD, because I'm just using the 8x2 chip on glass. But I gotta admit, I actually like that 8x2 chip on glass LCD. But maybe if I want to get a little more serious, I can find something that's in a mounted frame, and I don't know. It really depends on what you can find, and then you sort of go, okay, well now what protocol does this display need? You know, some of them will use 4-bit nibble mode, some will use I2C, some will use SPI, some will use who knows what. A lot of the time your design choices are dictated by what you can find on the market. as opposed to what you actually want to use. Alright, Travis, the meter stream probably would have just driven you mad anyway. There was a lot of dumbly obvious stuff that happened. RP2040, what's the RP2040? What sort of chip is that? I'll be sticking with the AVRs for the microcontroller because developing the firmware is something that requires quite a bit of time, so I really am not going to be changing from an AVR. If I had to change, I would probably lean towards something from ST, so like an STM32 or even a MSP430, if they even do those anymore. Oh, Raspberry Pi. Oh no, that's hellishly too expensive and massive overkill. Massive overkill. I mean, as it is, the AT-Tiny 45 that I'm using, the 8-pin microcontroller, even that's a massive overkill. If I had enough pins, something even like an AT-Tiny 10 would have been fine. Thanks for clearing up what you're meaning by the Raspberry Pi thing. At least I have noticed the tiny 44s, they're only about 79 cents a piece, so it's actually pretty good for an AVR. And they're in stock. I just wish that they had a INA 219 style device that had a higher common mode voltage rating. So the problem is that the INA 219 maxes out at 26 volts common mode, and that's just not enough. We've got to get up to 28 volts, or even better, 48. So instead I have to go for the INA 239, which has an 85 volt common mode. And that solves that, Alright, that's cleared up. Hey Dad, fix it. 80 Mega 32 U4. Yeah, they've got the integrated USB, but again, massive overkill for really what I'm doing. And I've already got the CH340s. They're just, you can get them anywhere. And they're super cheap. Yeah, you get something like the Mega 3240, hell, even a Mega 88, and that's going to be a lot of stuff on there that you're just never going to even touch or use. Like I said, the Tiny 45 is almost an overkill in its own right. Hey there, Maven. Travis, yeah, I'll have to... Basically, I've got to design a new board. And then I have to get the parts. But usually I can get the parts concurrently while I get the boards designed. The design should only take a day or two. most of that time will be me needlessly trying to visually optimize the trace routing. I say needlessly because from an electrical perspective it makes no damn difference. But there's something about doing trace routing that's therapeutic. It's like art. RP2040 is €13 for a lot of 10. Well, when you consider the bill of materials for this board, the USB board is probably less than $5 Australian. You kind of, and that would include the display. So it gives you a bit of a relative measure. And also the other thing is the RPi, you'd have to still have a daughter board for all the USB-C interfaces. And yeah, it's just a bit too much of an overkill for this sort of thing. Like I said, the tiny 45 we're using right now in itself is already a kind of an overkill in terms of processing power. The only thing we're sort of wishing for was maybe a 10-pin version, but we don't have that. They used to have 10-pin versions of the Tinies for some of them. But yeah, the Tiny 44 is probably my ideal compromise at this point. And of course there's stock available all over the world, which I was kind of surprised because it's an automotive chip. These fuses take forever to get off. Let's see, LTC 2945. Let's see if we're actually going to have something good there. LTC. I actually do like LTC parts. LTC is a business I did a lot of work with, a brand I've done a lot of work with. So what do we got? Okay, clock data 80 in. Interesting, they've got a supply, they do their own internal regulation by the looks of it. 12-bit resolution, that's more than enough. We really only need 8-bit most of the time. Let's see. Okay, so it's Delta Sigma, which is fine. We don't need to scan that quickly. It measures current, voltage and power. Oh nice. LTC. Alright. Package options are good. Let's see what the... Just trying to see what the register setup's like. Yeah, well, switching to this would save me having to do all the other changes, so that's pretty cool. And the other nice thing I like about LTC is they put a lot of effort into their examples, whereas other companies like TI, they sort of give you a rudimentary example, but they don't really go into they don't put a lot of effort into coming up with different things. Whereas NY'er, they go all out. You can often get most of your designs purely just from their data sheets. It saves you having to do a lot of thinking. I really do like their products. They cost a little more, a bit like with Atmel and their AVRs, but I'm more than happy to pay that little bit of extra cost compared to shaving 10 cents off here or there. So what have we got? I've got a lot more registers than the INA 219, a lot more stuff. Crikey, they've got a real... Okay, snapshot mode. Okay, test mode. We'd want a free running mode usually. It's a vastly more sophisticated chip, that's for sure. Alright, let's see what the availability and cost are though. LTC 5. Availability is probably more the dominant issue right now. This product is not in stock. What? That's not even the right product. Okay. Octopart. Alright, so now we are actually getting to a bit of the problem situation. Damn it. That is moderately more expensive than I would have anticipated. Let's see, what's a 100 unit? So $8 US per 100. It's... yeah, it's still doable. But it does mean, whereas compared to say the INA 219, INA 219, you just buy them in bulk from AliExpress as a pre-made board and strip the parts off at $2.82 a piece. Oh, here we go. Yeah, $1. So yeah, we kind of need to find something halfway between. But that LTC 2945 is definitely a beautiful looking chip by the datasheet so far. And the 239. Commanding, what? Makeup? What the hell? Digi key. Well, that's not it. Is it? I feel like I'm not looking at the right chip. It is a VSOP. Yeah, so INA 239, 85 volts, 16-bit. You can at least get them in some places. 229. Oh, what? It's the. I think what I was. 229. Why wasn't I using the 229? Other than the fact that it's a colossal overkill at 20-bit. Yeah. That's weird. The 229 I was... Oh, wait, no, that's the 2290. 229, here we go. For some reason, I thought there was a limitation on this, and I'm not sure what it was, that made me go for the 239. Well, I can't see it. It's 85 volt, 20-bit. Oh, that's right. It was SPI as well. It's, yeah, be it the 239 or the 229, they're all SPI. But I'm kind of not sure why I went. Anyway, so yeah, we've got a choice. We kind of need something like a 219 that has a higher common mode input. That's the only parameter that we keep crashing into because yeah, it's 26 volt maximum, and you can work around that. 238, INA 238. Thanks, Anonymous. Oh, geez, Paul can't type today. Let's see, 0 in stock. That's very useful. The prices $5. Yeah, that's tolerable. Where the hell's the data sheet? TI INA 238 data. (16-bit). See, we don't really need anything more than 12-bit for what we're doing. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, alright, 238. Thanks for that. Yeah, it looks like a drop-in replacement. Cool. Solved. And now we can get back to real work. Fixing this. 238. I was looking around, I didn't see that one, so thank you for that. It saves me re-spinning the board. I mean, obviously there'll be perhaps some changes in the, what do you call it, in the AVR firmware so that it talks to the right chip, but aside from that, 85 volt, that's plenty. And as it is, I will probably change the shunt resistor, because at the moment it's a 50 milliohm, and I'll probably drop it down to about a 20 milliohm. Because you start pushing 5 amps into 50 milliohm, that's, you know, it's about a watt of heat coming off that, or 1.25 watts or so. You don't really want that kind of wastage or heat on your board. And since it's got 16-bit resolution, in fact, I'll probably just go down to 10 milliohms. Hey, Crash and Burn. Now the downside of going down to a lower shunt resistor, of course, is, you don't get the same resolution of values, but that's okay. As I said, most of the time with the work we're doing, we're only looking at tenths of a volt and 10 milliamp quanta. High precision is massively overrated. Most of the time people will have their USB-C cables will probably be impacting the values considerably more than the precision of that sensor. Yeah, there's some junk under this inductor and I'm kind of thinking I need to lift it up. But I'm also thinking maybe the ultrasonic will clean that up. Hello Yogesh, JP. Petty? How dare you say petty? Oh, okay, we got some eating away here of the board. I think I'm going to replace that inductor. It's highly unlikely, but there is a chance that the damage actually went inside the inductor. Like, a bit of liquid or something has wicked its way inside. And so when it pulls up full power or something like that, it could end up cracking and causing goodness knows what issues. So we'll replace it out of an abundance of caution. Just throw some leaded solder on there to make it easy for us to get it off. I mean, certainly there's worse out there, but like I said, I prefer, it's easy enough for me to do this now than to have to deal with an upset customer and have to do it again later. I already get enough jobs coming back simply just through bad luck. I don't need to actually make it worse for myself outright. Yeah, now these inductors are usually, yeah. God damn it. It's made my life more hard now. The reason why they're difficult to get off is because of this here. They use a little bit of glue to hold them down. Okay. Hey Kodak. Yes, I am up late because I slept during the earlier part of the evening like an idiot. It's starting to work its way through a veer there. I mean, there's many vias under this inductor. It's the way that you can get the power from one side of the board to the other with minimal sort of resistance. So every via reduces the resistance through the law of resistors in parallel, basically. Alright, how messed up are you? You look ugly, but you're actually okay. Sounds like a terrible thing to do, to say to someone. It's like you're watching a machining video. They're good videos to watch. What were they making? Or destroying? One series that I've been watching lately is called Two-Stroke Stuffing, and it's about this guy, and he's making a supercharged nitromethane powered two-stroke engine, 50cc, and he's trying to do better than 20 horsepower, which he should be able to do if it all goes well. Because 20 horsepower out of 50cc these days, particularly if he's running nitromethane, that definitely should be on the books. But it's really interesting just watching him go through the process. This one's, I was going to say, it's really stuck down. Kits for miniature machines. Okay, interesting. What sort of kits? Oh, crikey, that's warm. Who would have thought that a inductor would stay hot for more than 5 seconds? Ow, ow, it's still hot. It's kind of like when you try to grab brass after it's been ejected from a gun. It stays hot for a little bit longer than you expect every time. Except for maybe rim fires. But any half-decent cartridge size, you try to grab that brass as it hits the ground later, you always end up burning yourself. And you never learn. Even things like 223s. You try to grab them before you lose them in the grass. Joe Pie channel. Okay, I'll have a look at that later. That inductor's looking better now. That just needs a bit of a wash. It wasn't enough damage on there to warrant replacing it. Because if you try to replace that, you almost always have to replace that, which means you almost always have to replace it. It just creates a horrible cascade of melted failures. Jurgen, I used to be, I'm not anymore. I'm not allowed to have even a BB gun anymore in this country. At least not without some crazy restrictive laws. It's not that I'm explicitly against the laws, it's just, when you can't even get airsoft here in Australia anymore. you know, the pendulum swung a little bit too far, perhaps. I had to give up my collection back in the mid-late 90s. I'm pretty happy with that board so far. Let's see. Like when paintball and airsoft became banned items, or you're not allowed to have them, that was the point I sort of went, okay, you probably need to backtrack a little bit now. I guess they're trying to sort of like kill the whole mindset outright. I don't know. I guess maybe they figure there's too many that look too real, which I can understand. But that's a whole debate in itself. We're just going to check to see that this actually does run. I'll put the chipmunk in. Let's see. It's been a while since I've turned on the power supply for this one. Yep, seems good so far. We should get a green light pop up in a bit. Now, of course, it was booting before, it was just running slow. So, okay, so we've got our green light, we know our CPU's alive, so that's good. We can cease with the testing for that. Like I said, we do have to replace this flex. At least I'm pretty sure of it. Sometimes you can just replace the connector on the end, but given the cost of them, it's just better to replace it outright. That's it. Oh, yeah, you know, no, stop it, Paul. Yeah, I look at that and I'm thinking, throw that in the ultrasonic and it might come up good. No, here I am. I'm going to do it because I'm an idiot. Hey there, Rob Brown. Been seeing you on and off around the place. Haven't had a chance to say hello much. Hope you're keeping busy. If I could find another one of these somewhere, but I doubt I would. Like, it's not like iPhones have these. I don't know of any MacBook logic board around that might have them. The actual trace here, that's not a big problem. That there, I think, is just a... Oh no, that one is actually... That's probably 342. Yeah, we can fix that up. It's this tarnishing on the inside that's a problem. It can be a bit problematic trying to make that good again. That side's fine. Yeah. Just charge them the extra $20 for another one of those things. Hey there, B-Dog. Right. Now we need to get that DC in board out of here, because that's going to have its own set of calamities. Come on. Come on. Let's come. Come on. Here you go. Gotta be gentle with that little flex there. Break it and it's a bit of fun. It's the microphone flex. No, that's the speaker one. This is the microphone here. The biggest problem with the microphone on those chassis is actually getting it aligned, because there's no keying or anything like that. So you've just sort of got to hope that you get it right. Okay, so this here will be affecting the one-wire circuit. That's one of the one-wire chips. I forget which one it is, but it's one of the U6901 or something like that chips. That there, yeah, that's its own problem too. This probably will be okay. It is BGA obviously, and there's junk under there, but that should wash out without any drama. Bottom side seems okay. Looks like it was a milkshake or something. But this here is going to be the real issue. And those pins there. Hey there, GD Tech. Well, at least orientation on these is okay, because it's a 5-pin unit, not a 6-pin. So it's not like you're going to get it backwards. Not melting it is going to be the harder part. Let's see if we can just do the good old large solder blob trick. And we also better turn on the extractor. And solder blob. Yes, gotcha. Because at least once it's off, I can easily just solder that back on manually. Yeah, I don't have to use hot air to put that back on. So we've got a corroded pad. Damn paper towel getting in the way. That's actually a pretty messed up pad, to be honest. It's really eating its way in. Yeah, it's very nicely crated. And I will wick off all that solder because we are putting it down by hand. Okay, now we've just got to get ourselves a replacement chip. And usually for these I tend to reckon of There we go. On the 1466 they have all the one wire circuit chips that we need on that DCM board, but on other things like the 1502 boards, they're on the board itself. Likewise with the 1286s and 1298s and things like that. Not 1298, 1278s. They're plentiful if you know where to look. B-door, it's us. I think they are a more consistent workstation soldering iron. They've got the power. They're still comparatively cheap. I mean, especially if you compare them to say like JBC. I suppose one way to compare it is to go buy one of the clones, the fake Hackos, and see how you go, see what you feel like you miss. You know, maybe some people don't miss anything. Gavani, welcome. Yeah, I'm trying to decide whether those pins are butchered or whether I can get away with them. The HP laptop just went back to the owner and I said don't rely on it, but yeah, just look to get another machine. Can't decide whether ultrasonic's going to fix that or not. Realistically, you're not going to get a very good abrasive item down in there. So I'm trying to decide whether ultrasonic will get in there and clean that up much, or whether it's a lost cause. I might hit it with some flux and boiling and see if that dislodges anything. Try and justify buying a Hacko hot air station versus... Okay, with the hot air station I would get the Aten or the Quick. If there is one thing that Hacko is not good for in terms of value for money for what you get, it is their hot air stations. Their hot air stations are actually terrible. A terrible value proposition these days. The Aten and the Quick represent far better value for money and a far better quality of device. Hacko's got it right with their FX951 or FM203 soldering stations, but for the hot air, they really missed the bus with their new stuff. Once Quick brought out their 861DW and then Aten with their 862, Hacko became very irrelevant in the hot air market. Because what are they charging, like $700-800 for the Hacko hot air? What is that, the 810 or something like that? It's really not worth it. Lewis Rossman has a video comparing it to the Quick, or reviewing it anyway, and it's quite bad how poor a value proposition that Hacko represents in hot air. Yeah, those suckers are really staying tarnished. I need some hydrochloric acid. Yeah, 700. It's ridiculous. Just get the Quick 861DW or the Aten ST862. And conversely, I wouldn't buy their soldering stations. I think the big thing with the Hakko, with the soldering station, is the tips. The T12 series tips or the T30s for the micro pencil. That's what really sells the Hakko the Hakko soldering station. I mean, you can use those tips in third-party controllers now, but I'd prefer to just stick with the Hakko. There's some small things that make a difference with the Hakko soldering station, like just stuff like their holder. When you put it back in, it shuts down the soldering iron tip. And I know they do things like that now with the third-party ones, but there's just little quirks that you end up sort of just preferring to stick with the Hakko for the soldering station. They are a little more expensive, but overall you don't really notice it after the first 3 months. I'm not sure how this is going to play out. I think for my sanity I'm going to replace it, which is really a pain because, well, trust me, it's a pain. Okay, so we have the E there, the HR, S there. Ugh. This is going to be a pain. It's a pain because you've got lots of little delicate plastic things all around and you don't want to melt them. So we're basically just going to go low and slow. Fiberglass pens unfortunately don't really work too well at these scales. What you end up with fiberglass pens is a whole lot of fiberglass fragments everywhere, and it's very difficult to clean them up. Alright, so here we go, low and slow. So this is 360 and 40. I might have to crank it up a little bit more, but we'll see. Now you could say, well, you're going to destroy this anyway, so why take it so? It's mostly because I don't want to destroy the connectors near it. Okay, we're getting there. It's already about to come off. There we go. Yeah, B-Dog, for that sort of task I do tend to use a fair bit of solder. It helps mostly in the distribution of the heat. Oh yeah, torturous when that happens, Andrew. And of course they're so small that you can't find the damn things. Or if you do find them, you then try to take them out, and that just makes it worse. I mean, well, I don't know. It's past midnight. All bets are off. Travis trying to solder splane me. You trying to solder splane me, man? Okay, now the nice thing about the connector on these is that, fortunately, Apple did end up putting the same one on the logic board. Oh wait, no they didn't. I just realised they didn't. God damn it. I'm an asshole to myself. Right. It's the same pitch and everything, but the height is different. See? Big difference in height. So I'm up the creek. Colossal difference in height. But like I said, same pitch and everything else, just wrong frickin' height. When I was taking it off, I was thinking, there's something you're forgetting, Paul. And I was like, just push through it, just push through it. And yeah, now I remember. That's okay. Okay, I've got a set of dud ones I can have a look at. And unfortunately, it's not something you can just swap out. Like, you can't just plonk on the wrong size one, because it will crash against the bottom of the chassis. Good reason for not destroying those things when you take them off, eh? Hey there, Vince. Hey, Horst. Horst, I have got it on the mostly auto mode, but I changed it so it takes 10 minutes or so. Yeah, the longest sort of time it takes to before it shuts itself down. Crap on a cracker. What am I going to do here? I guess I'll put the damn thing back on, but that's a bit embarrassing. But at least, like I said, I didn't melt it, so that's an upside. I'm trying to think if... I wonder if you can put a thicker one on there. Maybe you can get away with that. You know what? For the sake of experimentation, let's put the thicker one on there. Worst case scenario, I've got a spare DCM board, and we've got the original one there. And, yeah, let's see if it works. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? It's not going to work. Big whoop. Now, I'm fairly sure it will crash into the underside of the chassis, but, you know, I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. Certainly won't be the last. I would consult with Dave Jones to see whether that terminology is Australian or just something I've picked up elsewhere. Dave Jones would know the etymology of it. Now, it does take a fair bit longer to do these connectors, mostly because the logic board itself carries a lot more thermal resistance, well, thermal capacity that you've got to get soaked up before the solder will let go on these. Now I'm using 470, and as you can see, I'm not melting the plastic. I've just got to keep it a moderate distance away and keep it moving. Now the other way you could do it is you flip the board over and then you just bake it from behind. But I'm not a fan of that, mostly because the amount of damage you do on the other side of the board, the copious quantities of smoke containing unknown, goodness knows what, things in it, I'm not a fan of it. There we go, it's starting to melt now. Yeah, versus just say a little bit of patience. some frustrations. It's almost there. The lamp, I could use the connector that I took off, but like I said, it is internally a little bit messed up, so I was hoping not to have to use it. This one looks a bit messed up, but that's just the burned flux a bit. Okay. So you can see the footprint's fine. Now, trying to decide whether I risk reflowing it down or do a pin by pin tacking down, manual solder. Now the downside with manual soldering is that it's very easy to get it a little bit skew in terms of planar tilt, whereas with a reflow it tends to draw itself to the level. The other problem with tacking down with the soldering iron is that you run this high risk of touching the sides and Let's see if we can at least get a couple of tack welds down. This tip's a little bit too juicy for this job. Well, that's way too much. Alright, we'll see if we can just get it to tack and hold, and then we can work on the rest. Uh-oh, tweezers are stuck in there. There we go. I could use solder paste, but it's probably not going to save me anything. Any updates coming to open board? That's really no longer under my purview. But Pernov mostly handles that now. As I said, I do watch the developments and stuff like that and throw in anything if I can be useful. But for the most part now, it's not really under my control. Not that it ever was. really, really under my control. I was just I was an extremely prolific contributor, and I sort of did dominate on it for a while. But these days I'm not involved so much. Oh, thank you, GD. I think the last bit of work I've done on Open Board Viewer is just helping them make the BVR3 file format importer. They needed BVR3 because I got the latest MacBook boards done in that format, but of course Open Board View didn't have it by default, so they had to write one. Thanks, Greg, for putting the link up. Now comes the part where I regret making this choice. Yeah, already. Most of the drama usually comes from the pins that have got a lot of thermal weight on them. And so for as good as this tip is, it's still pretty hard to get every pin to flow nicely. I'll come back and do a better job with some assistive heat, but first I've actually got to get solder onto the pins. But you can't put solder on the pins before you get the connector down when you're doing it this way. So it sometimes feels like a little bit of a catch-22 situation. So we don't have to do a perfect job first time around because we'll come back with the assistive heat. And if you're wondering, the solder is about the smallest diameter solder I can get. This is 15 thou. So I don't know if you can get leaded solder in smaller diameters than 15 thou. This one's by Kester. I'm very happy with it. It's it's one of the Utetic ones. It's not 6040. It's what do you call it? 6337 or whatever it is. I really need to get more heat into this board because it's just making my life annoying here, to say the least. Alright, so all the shonky stuff done. Now I'll try and make it beautiful. Bernob's here. Must have heard me talking about him. His ears must have started burning. So as you can see, with a little bit of assistive heat, this sort of work goes a lot easier. Dr. Dreaming, it's 179 US per seat license, but it's a non-subscription license, so once you buy it, you can use it indefinitely. Unlike most of the other products where, sure, you pay $49 for the year and that's it. Next year you got to buy it again. The way in which it's all done is also slightly different. Like a lot of the other products, they have various board views and schematics on their servers that you can gain access to, but with things like Open Board View and Flex Board View, it's you bring your own files, which allows you to sort of do whatever you like rather than relying on someone's server to actually be available. So once you've got the files, then you don't lose them. So yeah, up front it's a little more expensive, but long term you've got the control of the software and you've got the files. And you can get those files from places like Badcaps. They're freely available. It's just for legal reasons I'm not able to include them with the package. If it wasn't a legal issue, I would most happily bundle them. But good God, man, that's a terrible blob of solder. Anyway, I can't bundle them for legal reasons. Apple would be so far up me I would taste Apple. Oh, flippin' flip. Raging too much. Hey Patrick. Optimize, is that a leaded solder or is that a, what do you call it, a lead free? Because the lead free I can get down to 10 thou, but I haven't seen a leaded one down at 10 thou. Leaded one all seem to stop at 15 thou. But hey, I'll be happy to be wrong. $63.37. Oh, okay. Can you drop a link for that? Maybe it's a recent edition they made? Because at the time I was looking, I couldn't find any 10 thou. It certainly would be a superior choice. Oh, yeah, I hate this so much. And like I said, we didn't even know this is going to work. Okay, well, yeah, a Kester partner will be good. If you're patient enough, you actually can get this stuff to work at 250 on the hot air. Uh, 250 will make solder melt. You just got to be patient so that everything warms up to that point. Slowly taking little bits of that solder away so we can eliminate that bridge. It's a bit frustrating right now, but it will clear eventually. There we go. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the 3, Patrick. Is that for a coffee again? It's it's a bit bit iffy. A little bit iffy. Technically functional, but visually iffy. Back to nightclub life again. Hello, Vladimir. Yeah, Vladimir, when he comes through with his mouse yowling, we're usually, congratulating him pretty heavy. We're like, oh, you got your mouse, you're a good boy, Micro. Yeah, that sort of thing. So, and then sometimes he just carries it around with him as a comfort toy, because we'll often find him, he will sort of sneak out somewhere and he will take his mouse with him and go sleep in a chair, or he'll take it as a companion. So it's pretty damn cute. He's had that thing since he was a kitten, like 4 or 5 weeks old. I've been trying to actually catch it when he runs through the house to go get his mouse. He has a particular style of the way he runs through the house. And I'll often say to Alita, I'll say, he's going to get his mouse. And sure enough, a few seconds later, he'll come out carrying his mouse in his mouth, going, making his noise. And then he just goes right past us and goes and takes his mouse wherever it is that he's decided to set up his lair. It's pretty damn cute. Thank you, Kodak. Oh, Simon, thank you for the £2. Grab a cold one. For me, that'll be an iced coffee. But I appreciate the sentiment. Yeah, Vladimir, it's a bit like that. But yeah, he also does use it to, signify he wants attention too. So it's a bit of a universal kind of tool. He doesn't play with any other toys, whereas the other kids, the fur kids, they will have a variety of things they will decide they're going to chuck around or whatever. But Micro will only ever go for the mouse. Okay, let's see how we go with this. Nothing. Oh, there we go. It was just bad MagSafe. Here I was thinking, it was like, oh, well, connector's no good. Yep, that's good. Alright. Now see if it actually fits into the chassis. Because that's the main thing we're concerned about here. If it fits, if it sits, it fits, or whatever, yeah. If it fits, it sits. That is such a mess. Amazingly, yeah, that the bottom of the board is fine. Usually it's the other way around. The bottom of the board is completely trashed and the top looks just dandy fine. And that's how people get caught out, because they take the lid off the MacBook and they go, oh yeah, it looks pretty good, no harm there, no liquid damage. But it's all lurking on the underneath near the SMC and things like that. But in this case, that wasn't the situation. Now, this will obviously go through ultrasonic cleaning before I legitimately put it back into the chassis. But I do want to verify that it is functional. And more to the point, verify that it fits. Because if it doesn't work, well, then that's about $80, $90 for a replacement MagSafe. And it's not cheap. And it's not me that's making them expensive, they're just expensive. It wasn't too bad when they were selling for $40 a piece, but the price just keeps going up now. I'm almost certain that he's not going to sit. I can already just see it. Hey, sweetie. You have to sleep? Okay. I'll see what state you're in, whether I disturb you or not. Okay. How much are we talking, Micromage? How much? Oh, that actually does fit. I mean, the clearance isn't great, but I think it does fit. What I'll do is I will place... first I've got to find my T5. What the hell? Oh, there it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a little bit of ink on that top pad there, and then we'll see if it gets transferred. 159 before shipping. Geez, that better be a £1 roll at least. 159, crikey, and I thought mine was expensive. Well, I can't see any transfer. Just stick a bit more paint there just in case I missed it. Give it a good squish down like that. Yeah, okay, it does get crushed if you push it down. So there's not much clearance there. But it's also not impossible either. I think we might go with that. See, JP, you got any experience packaging software into RPMs? No. If you want that kind of information, yeah, ask someone else. Pianov probably knows something about it. He did I'm pretty sure he did all the packaging scripts and stuff like that for OpenBoardView originally. Let's see, what now? Put the fan in, we'll load it up with the battery, and we will see if we've got any speed issues, given that that was the original fault that this all came in for. Funny if I went through all this and forgot to actually test to see if it even worked. Yeah, £1 roll would last a very long time. I mean, I'm still, I've barely started on my roll of the 15th stuff. Yeah, here we go. So this is where these jobs fall apart. The Wi-Fi module is all gnarled up, so that's going to have to be replaced as well. And in these scenarios, given that I've already got a bunch of them, I'll just simply put one of my existing ones in there so that they don't have to pay that. Because if I make them have to pay for that, they're just going to say, you know what, this is just getting out of hand. I'm just going to give up on this machine. And of course, I'll then lose all my job. I'll lose my job. I'll lose, as in this job, not my actual work. So I wouldn't make any money out of this. So better for me to give up a part that's just simply rotting in the shelf anyway to make the job actually happen. Sometimes you just got to do it that way. All about judgment calls. Is it 285 mildly activated? I suppose if you use mildly activated, as long as you wash the board. Does it say they recommend a wash? I imagine they would. But say for rework, you do really want many times slightly activated. Particularly when you're trying to work through corrosion. That's why occasionally I'll call out for some hydrochloric acid. Okay. Obviously I did not put the SSD in there. We don't need that for this particular situation. But it has been a while since I have used my boot stick. I don't even know where it is. I've got an MRI. There we are. I was going to say, I've got an MRI stick, but I haven't modified it to work for these boards. Okay. Camera angle now makes it a little bit harder for you to see what's on the screen. I need to get a longer sort of standoff for the camera. Okay, why do I have no trackpad? Ah, I do. For rework you use 44. For the 285 it melts faster. Oh, so for some reason I was thinking, sorry about that, Optimize. My brain was offset by one to the right. I was thinking that mildly activated was and then you have lightly activated, and then you have activated, heavily activated. Yeah, I need to get the current camera hold stick that I have is only like 1 foot long. I need to come up with a better stand for it, but you're just going to have to deal with it for now. And then once I've got that, we can revert to the old method. It does feel a little bit iffy still. Hey, full wave. Alright, yeah, we've still got problems here. The fan's running at 6,000 RPM, so it's definitely not happy. And by the looks of it, it is the DC inboard that it's still unhappy about. Oh, that's annoying. We'll change the DC inboard, see how it feels. Villanov, I'm soon looking at completely gutting the internal structure of the board view software. It's sort of gotten to the point where everything's such a kludge that it's becoming frustrating. I think it's time for me to basically gut the internals, still keep the same file importer system and whatnot, but basically gut the internals and have something that's perhaps a little faster to traverse with the vectors and requires less conversions. And I'll probably change to just normal pointers rather than shared. Needs to say, you can bet your boots that that project will probably sort of take a long time before it even compiles right the first time. Okay, so that's the board. This is my board. I won't bother putting it back in. We'll just boot it freestanding. I'm not the biggest fan of redoing large chunks of software like that, but I feel like it's sort of due time. Particularly with where I want to take the whole thing in the future. It's still booting a bit slow. Oh, shit. I realise why now. God damn it. I didn't put the fan back in. Hey, Jan Zimmy. Kodak, yeah, there's some developments, some sort of expansion of what it's going to do that kind of needs me to clean up the internal storage of the data a lot. Because realistically, we haven't changed a lot from when the project first came out in terms of the way it stores the data or represents the data. But now I need it to do some other things, or at least I'm planning it to do some other things, and I would like it to be a little more efficient. Travis Stanford has a new icon, does he? I didn't see it. Oscar the Grouch. It's still booting a bit slow, so I think we've still got sensor issues. I'm really hoping that this is not going to be an SMC thing. Oh crap, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Pretty much time for me to go to bed. Yeah, still something going on. It's still doing 6,000 RPM, which is way over the top, so I should check the connectors for that. Check the pins on the flat connector coming into. Yeah, once again, it's airport proximity, heat pipe stuff, so that's all related to the onboard connector and the DC inboard. See ya, Travis. I'm gonna start kicking anybody saying PCH soon. Ed, oh, you've been here a little bit though, haven't you? Good night, Yen. Well, I just want to check this first, see if I can find it. I'm wondering if there's corrosion around here or whether one of our I2C lines is buggered up. So I'm really hoping it's not the SMC. That'd be quite unfortunate for me. On the upside, it means that the DC inboard must be okay. That is, because we had the same behavior with my DC inboard versus the repaired DC inboard, it somewhat indicates that the DC inboard must be okay. Okay, so yeah, I'm looking for damage around here, and if I can't see anything there, then I will check the I2C lines. Yeah, there's a big fat solder wall there, but that doesn't matter. Okay, let's have a look at the board view and schematic. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is check the diode mode for these two lines here. And if they are balanced, then yeah, I don't know what to think actually if they're balanced. Okay. By the end of the RAM. Alright, those two chips by the end of the RAM. Resistors, these two here. Yep, looks like multimeter's decided to go offline. Let's see if we fix that up. No such joy. Oh well. I have to do it manually. Yeah, weird. It thinks it's actually talking to it. Okay, diode mode. Hey, you're just going to have to trust me when I tell you what the values are. Well, you don't have to trust me, but that's up to you if you want to live a agonized life or not. Okay, so for that, 718, which seems a little high. I don't know. Okay, well they're both 718, so there's no issue with that. And if we look at the schematic and board view, they're listed for 720, so 718 is astoundingly close, to be honest. Would have been anything between 0.55 and 0.8 would have been more than acceptable. Okay, so we know the comms are right on the board. Let's have a look at the connector edge on. There's a little piece of crud in there, but that's not on those two lines that we care about. We'll check the diode mode at the connector itself. Pardon me. So if we go to the connector, it's these two here, and they're straight after that second, first, second ground pin. So we'll see what the values are there, and see if they're also close on. So let's see. Hello? Seriously? Are you really open, or are you just trolling me? Alright, so that's listed as open and open. It is actually very interesting. Whereas if I go back to here, assuming I've got the right ones, 0.72, 0.72. Yeah, that's new. And it's definitely the same pins. So you can see those two resistors there. And that's it. So for some reason they're open here, but then you go to that side of the board and they're correct. So we've got to disconnect somehow. That is the first time I've ever seen that. I swear it's so odd that I swear I'm measuring it wrong on this side. That's how much I think it's odd. Hey Adam. I feel like I just did something wrong there. Okay, yeah, I mustn't. Did I use the red probe by chance? Anyone check that? Or did I use the black? I have a feeling if I use the red now it's going to go open. No, 1.5. 1.5. I must have just not been pressing one end of it. That's all I can think of. I just must have been pressing... Yeah, something must not have been right. Alright, so we are getting our fin stack. And that's really sad because basically that leads us to this. And yet I have no... The only thing I could possibly think of is that an unwanted voltage jumped onto the line. Ah, crikey, sorry. Let's see. Is there corrosion in there, or is it just me being fearfully optimistic? No, it's just me being a scaredy cat. That's just a clump of crud. I feel like I'm missing something. At this time of night, it's probably half a brain. So I wonder where on the SMC that goes. So it's down towards the bottom here. So it's these two balls here. And there really is no corrosion there whatsoever. It's a shame they don't have a exposed test point at this area. I suppose it makes sense that they don't on the basis of the fact that they already have the test points down here. These two here are the test points. I'm just not sure why the fin stack data doesn't seem to be coming through right. All the other temperatures are okay. It's just that fin stack one. And of course, yeah, that's what's making it run slow. And we've tried two different DCM boards. The only commonality is this flat flex, but this flat flex works it's not the one that the customer had. Let's have a look at maybe, I don't know. So where was the damage on this one? How did the build go? You mean the USB-C meter? That went okay, thank you. Sorted that out. Pardon me. So we've had a fairly decent bit of chewing away here. So I do wonder if maybe 18 volts got to the SMC or something, I don't know, onto the I2C lines. So the question is this ground all around here? Or is it something else? Most likely it's ground. You don't normally have this sort of flood fill for things like the input power. Oh yeah, that's the other thing, is the input power actually comes through the other connector. This is not carrying any real power, so they will be ground. It's got me stumped. I think I might have to revisit this in the morning, but I have a horrible feeling it's probably going to be an SMC job, which really sucks. Annoying. But yeah, the USB-C meter, it's all doing good now. Like I said, I can change the orientation back and forth. It's like I've got the input as the output and the output as the input, and it still just works fine, except when it falls off the edge of the bench. There's my cable. Cable, where art thou? Actually, it'd be a good opportunity for me to see if this cable is any good. This is a genuine Apple cable, but it doesn't seem to like working with any of these things. Okay. So you can see I even added little chevrons. What I will probably do is I'll reprogram it to create my own icon or my own character, and I'll have like a double chevron, so it's a little more distinct from the rest of the text. It looks like the cable works fine. Let's see. Yeah, looks like it's changed COM port. That's the other thing I got to work out. Make it so it auto detects the COM ports. There we go. And so I can just flip these around. And as you can see, it's changed it back. Oh, there is one bug in my on-screen display. Because this is reporting as negative current, I just haven't changed the on-screen display software yet. Obviously, I just needed to simply make that an absolute value as opposed to negative. Should put micro on as an avatar on there. Ha! Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Or a little pixelated cat. Anyway, that's it. I'm out of here, go retire for the night, and I'll think about whether I'm going to bother doing an SMC on this or not. I sort of want to be sure it is the SMC before I do that, but so far, given that it's not the DC board, it's not the connector, it's not the flatpaks, and the IT. That's the weird thing. The clock and data line are matched and they seem to be right, but for some reason it's just not working. So I'll have a look at it in the morning. Anyway, I'm out of here. You take care. I'll see you next time. Catch you later.